We are now about to present to you our panelists, and we'd really appreciate if you take a seat. May I extend a very warm welcome and present to you Mr. 𝐷𝐸𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐢𝐜 𝐈𝐧𝐝, founder and CEO 𝐈𝐴. May I also welcome Mr. Siddharth Dungarwal, founder snitch.co.in. May I welcome Mr. Suraj Madnani, founder Amin3. May I also welcome Mr. Harshal Salot, founder the Sleep Company, Ms. Sujata Biswas, co-founder Suta, Ms. 𝐌𝐚𝐩𝐢𝐜 𝐈𝐧𝐝, founder and CEO FS Life. May I also welcome Shibu Phillips, Director Shopping Malls Lulu Group, and may I present you our moderator Bimal Sharma, Head Retail CBRE. A round of applause for our wonderful set of speakers, and may I once again request all of you all to please step forward and take a seat. We have a fantastic set of speakers here on stage, so I'd really appreciate if we can sit down and listen into them and learn together.
We're going to talk about the D2C industry today and how they are moving into the offline space. There's a talk of town, and I think they are the growth engines going into the future. From a $12 billion industry, I believe. Is that good? Well, both of them. Thank you. From about a $12 billion industry in 2022, we expect this category and this space to grow up to about $60 billion in 27, which is not too far away. And we are expecting the growth at about 40% annually is what is expected out of this place. And all this is happening not because one of these brands or any one of these brands is growing. I think the entire ecosystem is growing. There's a lot of investment, and there's lots of categories that have come in. The government initiatives that have been taken into place, all of that has put together to come here. Not to say that it is only about the transactions or the investments from the government, but also the private sector, the telecom industry, the bandwidth that is available, the rates at which they are available, to online sales, to the mobile banking which is available today. I think all these things put together have brought us to a position where the online market space has really grown, and we have a situation where all these D2C brands are growing at this point of time. We are coming from I was reflecting on the flight in here this morning, and we are coming from an industry 20 years ago when we didn't have enough brands in India. We didn't, when we were marketing the initial first few leased assets, namely Inorbit and Forum in Bangalore, we didn't have enough brands, national, forget international, to actually lease the center completely. From there to today having, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of online brands available and the market growing at this pace, all this has been put together because every part of the economy is coming together. This is including the manpower that is available, the finance that is available, the investments that are coming into this sector. All that is coming together, and like we say, you know, the stars are probably aligned to be here. Today, when we are looking at this panel, I think we've got a great panel to discuss the offline foray. We've got from apparel, from women's wear to menswear to F&B to Sleep Company, which is very, very important, to a great patisserie. I think all of them are very, very important. And then we, of course, have Shibu, who is the lone ranger, so from the developer community, who's, honestly, Shibu can also talk from the retailer standpoint, considering the parent company that he works for. He can be a retailer as well on this panel today. But let me start with you guys, and I can start with the ladies first. So what brought you guys to shift from an online-only format? And Ayushi, maybe you can start off. From being online for the last few years, I think creating a good base to start doing offline stores last year.
In our case, actually, and I would say that we are brands first and channel second. So when we started, we were very clear that at some point in time, we will actually get into offline. The starting channel is D2C for us, and then eventually marketplaces because the access is easier. But we always wanted to go offline, and we were very clear. In fact, we were probably less than 1 crore a month on our sales when we went offline back in 2020 when it was not the most hot thing to do. So I think the fundamental belief for us is that brands are built through various channels, and you have to be in the relevant channels at the relevant time, and that's what triggered offline. At this point in time, we are actually actively seeking to go offline or expand offline very, very quickly, because we can clearly see the P&Ls and growth stacking up, and also it does help in building brand persona over long term. So that's the idea.
Great. Do you want to take a shot at this, Harshal?
So we started in 2019 and we were a digital first brand for the first 3 years of our journey. What we realized was that a lot of our customers were wanting to have a physical experience of our products, the touch and feel, since the category is like this, right? We are a comfort tech brand into helping people sleep and sit better. So for us, it was about our customers asking for a better experience to physically touch and feel the products, which led us to, the offline journey. However, in this industry, most people did this through a dealer distributor network, which was very, very fragmented and really didn't cater to enhancing the customer experience. So we decided to do it very differently by opening our own experience centers, which were very spacious with very, very educated salespeople who could explain the difference between our technology and the others. And we've seen that working very, very well. In about 21 months, we've moved from 1 store to 80 stores, from 1 city to 25 cities. And we definitely believe that that is the right journey for us in our company.
I think what you've done, Harshal, is probably faster than a lot of the offline brands or the offline first brands in terms of growth. I think it's quite commendable. Siddharth, coming to you, and you're one of the latest to foray offline. What were you expecting to change from, let's say, what you have experienced so far in the online space?
I mean, for us, again, offline was always on the cards. Largely we've always been, online first. But then I call it the umbrella effect, wherein, once you shoot the umbrella, e-commerce builds a lot of speed, and offline stores gets a lot of stability. And that approach was always there, in terms of even with the way we've, sort of picturized everything. Things that we've done differently, I think the number one thing I've learned over the last 6 months is patience. Because, online is speed. I mean, speed is everything in the online space. I mean, you do 10 orders today, then you do 50, then you do 500, then you do 5,000, then you do 50,000. With offline, it's very, very different. You need to be a lot more patient. So I'm learning that skill now. Evaluating spaces personally, doing a lot of recce around the store. In fact, we've just hired a hospitality head. Because I personally feel hospitality is the number one thing more than the operational part. When we want our customers, to have that experience of, maybe staying in a 5-star hotel or a resort. It actually creates a lot of good vibes inside the store. From the fragrance, our music is controlled centrally, through our head office. All the stores, same time, same music. We've done very, very minute things, just taking into consideration, the experience part. I mean, I think that is going to be the biggest differentiator between a normal brand and, people coming into the store at Snitch.
Excellent. And it's good to hear that you've already done the back end. And if I want to take it to Sujata. Sujata, what all changes did you have to do from online to offline? And we were discussing earlier, you're also on the franchise space. So what are the changes that you had to do? And what are you doing right now from a...
So we have 10 stores now, but every day we are learning something. We enter a new store and we see so many things that could be implemented. And I feel it's a very evolving process. So for example, every city behaves very differently. So even just picking up the nuance of a city, it takes a lot of time, and it has to be a very, it's a very different approach. So even if you sit in that one store and just see, observe people's behavior, it will be so different that somebody is asking for something which you completely don't make, and we are actually getting into a lot of custom-made things, or like we have. So for us, we have tailor in all the stores. So that's something we have done because we know people want some immediate alteration, quickly wear, get ready in Suta completely in the store and then get out from there for like an event. So these things we didn't think about when we were in online, right? And when online company, so we would not do that. Yeah, it's a learning, and I feel if you treat it like a game, you will crack it. I think you don't have to just look at formulas or success stories of different brands, and crack it. There could be a very, very different story that you can build if you just sit and observe, listen to the customers, and we are doing that, exactly that. And I feel in another 2-3 years time, a lot of our stores might behave very differently, and I'm okay with that, and I'm happy to do that. So yeah.
Which is great. Aisha, I'll just come back to you. You were mentioning that you have a single platform that you're running for all this, and how did that help you going into offline? I said we were discussing earlier that you have a single platform where you are doing all your supply and everything, correct? You are sorry, I'm missing this out. Maybe I'm messing this up. But you have a single platform where you're doing all your distribution and everything, so you can be more omni-channel, so to say. So was that something already in place, or was that something for your offline foray that you guys ended up doing that?
No, I think in our case, as we think about it, overall, we are a supply chain company, and we don't talk more about it, but from an execution perspective, we actually operationalize our inventory build-up extremely quickly to eliminate the redundancies of inventory, right? So as we thought about offline, we had to modify it a bit more to make it even faster. The collections have to get launched online and offline at the same time. And that's what we needed to do. In addition to it, what we also needed to do was that sometimes you have to wait for the data in terms of sales and early sensibilities to flow in to keep around and move the merchandise. So you have to play a little bit on merchandise, what you're sending to the store, and a bunch of those things to be able to drive that. And that's a set of things, but in long story short, we did not need to do a lot given how we operated historically, and it allows us to move into offline very, very quickly. The only patience you need is to make the store, as you said. It can take anywhere between 2 months to 3 months, or maybe even 6 months to get it right.
So the clicks don't happen that fast here. I agree. Moving on, just from a omni-channel, as we were discussing, anybody else has any takes on how you're going to synthesize it? Abhijit, if you want to do it, take this up. When you are doing your stores, how are you integrating your technology as well as deciding on your locations? How do you go about doing that?
So to start with, Up Coffee is a takeaway specialty coffee chain, right? So for us, the prima facie customer walks in. We are by birth an omni-channel company. So for us, having good footfall, good throughput, people walking into the stores is the primary problem that we look for to solve. Online, which for us comes through online orders directly or through aggregators, are something which is a subset of the geography we are in. So a couple of things that we always look for is, number one, is this the geo hotspot where people will move? Second thing that we look at is so going back to the thesis in terms of what we are building, right? So building up grab and go concept of coffee on the go. Now, India predominantly has been grab, stay, go country rather than being a grab and go country as compared to the Western counterparts. So when you do that, you have to see which locations you are. Does people, which are customers, we call them as guests, have certain seconds or minutes to stay over so the coffee can be served fast. And the third thing we look at, again, what are the numbers in the region for some of our peers, in the counterparts, and does our TG reside there? So either it can be served to them in a faster way by delivery, or they'll walk through and we can serve them efficiently when they walk to the stores.
Lovely. Abhijit, you have, Suraj, you have a different take. Like you have a online format and you're also doing Zomato, Swiggy. Suraj, you went the other way around. Can you hear me? So you went the other way around and you are doing all on your own. Even your online distribution is self-performing. And then, of course, you've gone offline now. How did you decide and why did you decide on not being with the aggregator and doing offline, vis-a-vis doing online and expanding through aggregators?
So, for most of you who don't know, 𝐷𝐚𝐻𝐢𝐚, it's a F&B brand in Bangalore. We are predominantly into cakes. We started out as a cake brand, but today we are a full-fledged cafe. We started on the direct-to-consumer route because there was a crying need for margins. By being on aggregator platforms, we could barely make margins, always gasping for profitability. So cake, we thought could be a good category because it's an occasional purchase, it's not an everyday purchase. So we built a great quality product, and we essentially denied aggregators our distribution, and customers loved us. And the offline business started for us because customers required the cake early enough. So we typically had to be booked a day in advance. Today that has dropped to about 3-4 hours. But when we were doing this business, customers were hating us because we were not giving them the cake, immediately. And most customers, were calling for it. They asked us, why don't you open a store? So we opened a small cake shop, but that then converted into a full-fledged cafe. Luckily, the space was expandable, so we could add the offering. Both have performed really well for us, online and offline, and both are growing really well. I think it's on the strength of the product, but I do think direct-to-consumer model works for us because if product is king, distribution is kingdom. A lot of margin play happens there, a lot of power plays happen there. So we have kept the distribution with ourselves.
So I'll open this and anybody can take this question. How much was that contributor, the margin and what you're paying, a reason for you to also going offline and not being there, please?
I'll probably break it from a very daily lifestyle point of view, because F&B is something all of us sitting in the room actually consume day in and day out, and beverage is something we definitely consume. So for us, the online model is great because it increases the reach to the consumers, but fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think in my humble opinion, a lot of F&B business cannot be built online because that's where the trust factor doesn't come in, and also the margins become slim. So we do good top line coming from online channels, but that's where margins are low. The OVs are higher, but where to actually build value, trust, and a factor of win-win scenario between us and the guest is where the offline experience comes in. And in a sense where we say we do right coffee, right price, served fast, conveniently, that can really be experienced because that's when a one-to-one interaction with the consumer happens. So for us, as you rightly said, the margins are lower, so there's absolutely no way, and in my humble opinion, F&B can survive without offline, so yeah.
On the apparel side? Any take?
No, I think for us, we were very clear because online you never speak to customers, right? And also you don't know, what is the sort of personality they are, who's walking in. And I make sure I at least spend at least a couple of hours every weekend in any of the one store just to interact with consumers and understand. Because even if you're online first, you might call customers, but the sort of talk that you would have face to face is very, very different. And you get a lot of insights from there, right? Like I told you, we got a hospitality head, and that was something that a customer told us. Maybe you take a different approach, get a person who could probably groom your people inside. The way they sort of greet customers once, someone walks in. So I think, it's just a start still, and, the journey is going to be really long for us. But so far, whatever we've witnessed offline is just phenomenal.
Perfect. Before I come to Shibu, and I want to just ask a question to everybody, and I'll leave it open. How do you guys decide on where to open? You have a lot of data in-house. Each one of you has enough data being D2C. How do you go about it? Do you want to take that first?
Yeah, so, the question that probably all of us have is, how many stores do you need to open in a particular city, in a particular micro market, to give you incremental business without really cannibalizing on your current store business? So we work with a lot of data. Luckily for us, all our fulfillment happens through our warehouse. So we know the address of each of our customers. Each customer is indexed on around 2,000 parameters depending on where he stays, what is his income level, what is the rent in that area, what is the cost of a restaurant average meal there, what is the cost of gym in that area. And based on that, we are able to get and identify who our customers are in a much better manner. And based on that, we are able to map these customers throughout the city. And we call it the TAM for a particular micro market. So our vision is to build a revenue forecasting model where you put a cursor on a map and it should tell you what is the range of revenue that you can get from those particular micro markets. It's obviously something that we are evolving, we are learning, but we've already moved in that direction. And we see a strong correlation between the stores that we open and the revenue that we thought would come and what is coming. And we are really moving in that direction with a lot of tech, with a lot of data, understanding competition, understanding our own trends and taking decisions there. And that really helps us to come at a consensus on what should be the right density in a particular city.
Excellent. That from your data is, I think, most relevant, and yours can go there. On the apparel or F&B side, please.
So yeah, it's amazing how you mentioned, and I'm still in awe about how you can use data and just pinpoint things. But Suta is a bootstrapped company, and for us, everything we pick is like we have to think literally 1,000 times, and we, even after the online data says this is the best location, and that's the high street where, you know, let's say another other stores have worked in a similar lane, so there should be that. But then we spend a lot of time, literally, like we stand there and see how many people are walking by, are they stopping there, how many people are just literally browsing or just passing through, is there a signal, how will the store be visible, and all of that physically. We call customers, the top customers, because they are Suta fans. Of course, they're buying, like, you know, almost every week, so we ask them what good locations are, and then yeah, a lot of research. And also because it's a franchisee model, we trust the partners, their call, and you know, so a lot of factors. We also conduct at least 2 exhibitions close by to see if we can pull that crowd, and then we take a call. So yeah.
Great. Coming to Shibu, in your case, and when you are looking, and we were talking earlier, you did a round going and seeing all these brands. What is the biggest question that you have when these brands come and approach you for space? What is the biggest challenge that you are facing?
So what happens is in grade A malls, and we run almost 9 of them, close to 10 million square feet. The occupancy levels are close to around 98, 99%. Now, you know, we get close to 50 lakh customers in all our malls. Now, obviously, consumers, and you have data that ethnic wear sales went down because online brands got a fair share of it. So there are a lot of consumers who are shopping at all the brands which are present here because the brands are amazing. So obviously, the interest is for a shopping mall to get them into the mall. It is there. But yes, location is always an issue, is because of the fact that when a shopping mall is built, and these are malls which are built, my malls are almost 5 years to 15 years old. These iconic brands take the best locations and then they don't move. Now, obviously, you know, either the strength, muscles and the strength have to be built by them to come and take that position, or it happens slowly. Because it's a process, because they have become online very big, they become high street very big, then they start taking bigger positions, and then they come and challenge a Zara and saying, I will take that. And that is where I'm sure that that's a turning point when shopping malls say, I will give you that location. Because we have seen many brands over the last, you know, I'm in this shopping mall scenario for the last 25 years, and I've seen many brands come and go. Because they are there till the time it is of a certain size, and after that, when the size improves, then it fizzles out. And that's the reason, if I'm sure you've heard one of the biggest brands, Fab India, now going to go slowly. So my point here is that malls will definitely give everyone a location, and it might not be that iconic ground floor atrium location to start with, but you know, there are brands like Nykaa, which was there in my iconic malls at a small 200 square feet. then went on to take 2,000 square feet or 1,000 square feet on the high street, on the atrium, and start doing a sale of more than 1 crore. This happens in a period where everyone sees it. And when you do that in one of the grade A big malls, everyone will give you a red carpet. So it's a process, but obviously, then the question is that, is the rent per square feet, the right question? But it's very, you have to understand that everything is economics, and the law of economics works here. So when you need that, then you get that, and then when you get that, then there's no complaints.
Agreed. Actually, you opened your first few stores in great shopping centers. What has your experience been dealing?
I think I agree with him in terms of the process. Getting a location in a mall is the most difficult one. It is great to put, a paper-based plan of retail and how fast you will go up to 50 stores. When you get into the execution, you realize no great spaces are available. The ones you want are not available, and the ones you don't want are available. So I think you have to go through the journey a little bit, as you said, a little bit more patiently. And our engagement with various malls and different partners that we have seen is that there are some players who are very forward-looking in their nature. And in our case, there were some malls who desperately wanted us because they had seen how fast we had done online and the fan following, etc. And it's working great. We have gotten great locations. We are in one of the best set of malls in Bombay and Pune, and we are breaking even first month onwards. So what we also realized when we entered offline was the fact that the brand has such a strong pull online and people know us, that we assumed a break even of month 3 or month 5 for us, because that's a traditional offline break even. But we started, like, the sales are great, the average order values are double. 4 in 5 consumers know us. We have conversions of 50%. So it's worked out brilliant. There are limited stores yet, so we can't say that this is how you extrapolate it. But if you get the right location, right space, it is worth waiting for it. And that's how you scale up, is the journey that we take.
Sure.
Sometimes what we have also started doing is, for the consumer's benefit, we started doing big pop-up stores, both of us have the trust of the numbers. Then sometimes data is there, and then it's very easy. We can make space for you, and you also have the courage to give that, decide on the numbers. And see, numbers is a fact that any mall can give you the lowest number, provided they earn it back in the revenue share. If the trust is there, it happens. And the biggest brands in this country today who have come from abroad are paying only in revenue share. But the fact is that they're delivering the results. So I believe it's that trust which has to be formed.
Sure.
I think good brands need great real estate, but I think it works the other way also. I think great real estate also want great brands. It's a two-way street. And I think with Mr. Shibu's explanation, I do understand that the onus is on the brands more than the malls to prove their muscle and to prove their strength with the customer. So I think the magic lies, do you have the customer pull? And if you do, then your bargaining power, of course, with the mall also improves. Rev shares reduces, and I think eventually the brands can start to dominate. Even a Fab India, I think, although it may be going through a tough time, maybe it will phase out, we don't know. But I think if we as brands are really committed to the long haul, I think we can reinvent ourselves every 5 years if there is a trend change, and we can continue to have that hold on the market.
100%. Just coming back to that, and the pop-ups are a great idea, of course, to get a flavor of the mall as well as for the brand sitting in that particular neighborhood. But tell me, how much has the sales actually, the delta that you've seen out of the stores that you guys have opened, in the micro market or in the city level, wherever you opened? Have you seen a delta happening more than just the sales coming out of the store? Let's say you opened in, please.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen phenomenal, sort of growth in those particular pin codes wherever we've had our stores, especially the first store that we opened was in Jayanagar, Bangalore, a very semi-high street sort of store. Any BD guy who would have seen that store would have rejected, saying, "Kya kar rahe ho aap?" There is no retail in the 500-meter vicinity also. I was just passing by, saw the store. I said, I want to go offline. Let me take a small bet. 110 bucks is the rental per square foot. I'm getting 2,200 square foot. That store does 1.5 crores a month for us. Largely it is more towards, a lot of customers who've seen you online, but never bought because they don't trust online brands. And once they see a store, they walk in, and with the sort of experience that you give inside the store, we've seen large delta happening in those particular pin codes. Plus, online our average order value is at about 1,800. Offline it's at about 4,000. That's like a 2.5x jump. The returns online is about 18 to 20%. Offline is 0.1%. So unit economics are great. Customer is happy. The brand is happy. So I think, amalgamation of both and giving that sort of omni experience is really important for any brand, to survive at scale.
Just to tell the example that I went for shopping to his store, and my daughters were there because it's a man's store. I said, you all wait, I'm shopping. And they ended up shopping more than me.
That's great. Is this a unanimous experience for all of you? Please, Harshit.
Yeah, so I think if you want to be a really meaningful brand in the country, you have to have a multi-channel approach, and offline is something that has to be part of your strategy. It obviously depends on what stage in your journey you are in. We definitely feel that it helps a lot in brand building. Very difficult to quantify it though, but if you see the business on how a city is growing or how a particular micro market is growing, we see a very, very strong correlation between opening a store and the business in that geography improving. So as far as we are concerned, we are very, very strong proponents of offline expansion and having an omni-channel strategy to support that.
So I think going back to your question, in terms of pin codes, how do they perform? I think that's so the way we look at it is, a couple of days back we were doing a rebranding exercise, and we thought every store will be attached to a pin code. And then we realized one pin code can have 10 up coffees, right? And our approach has been go deep into the system, go deep into the micro market. The denser you are, and that's a value prop, right? So, and we have seen that difference. So I believe India is a country which changes every 2.5, 3 kilometers, and the use case and the way people perceive, the way people consume, the way people smell, feel, talk is different within a neighborhood, right? So pin codes have been, in terms of micro markets, have been a decision maker as well, where to open, how to open. We see cannibalization coming in. That's an initial phase, but then overall it just picks up because the entire denser market, the ecosystem gets captured by us being as the primary provider, as a convenience leader in that particular space. So summarize, pin code is a decision, but pin code has multiple things to look at, and we can be multiple, denser. Our value model is being denser in a pin code.
Lovely. So I guess I'm assuming here, out of your answers also, that the consumer has also, your customer has started experiencing you differently after you went offline. Has there any major change that you've seen after going offline from your customers? Has there been a big change?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen phenomenal change. I mean, largely customers online would buy maybe 1 or 2 garments, and then you have a store, they would go and buy maybe 5 and 6, and next time they buy online, it is usually above, 5 or 6. So we've seen that, trajectory, because now they understand the brand, they understand the silhouette, they sort of know what sort of fabric this could be. And that, and also that trust factor increases. I strongly believe unless the brand does not do any stupid mistakes, there's no one stopping them.
I think also it becomes like a huge, it's like a destination, right? It becomes like Indiranagar, a lot of people just say, hey, I saw your store, I passed by, and I recommended my friend about you, and it becomes like even a talking point. Let's say it's opposite Araku Coffee, where our store is in Bangalore, and then so many people sit there and chat about the brand, and then they spread, the message just spreads. It's literally like, it's activating, right? And it's so difficult now to reach a customer, right? The CACs have gone through the roof. So I think this, it's I would not say only, but yeah, I think it's only way to grow. You have to be there, reaching the customer from every side possible. So they are watching you online, they see your store while passing by, they'll remember you more, they'll think that it's an authentic brand, or they have arrived, maybe it's a product that everyone's buying, so I should buy. So it's like just reminding them, hey, I'm there, hey, I'm there. So
it's a physical, better way of marketing, I guess.
I think the only thing I would add to this, and quite agree, but for us, therefore, what it translates into is building credibility of the brand. And that's what happens when you go offline. People who have touched and felt your product, so they feel more comfortable buying from you. It's historically proven, as it's proven in case of Snitch, and for us, the average order values are 2 to 2.5 times offline. We probably have an average order value in the range of 7,000 to 8,000. We have customers buying stuff worth 40,000 in a 500 square foot store, which you would never imagine, because so I think that's what helps, and that is also why sometimes initial few stores investing in the right location and right real estate, whether you can quantify the brand building or not, is fairly material.
Location is always the first and most important thing. That's, I think, from brand building perspective, and getting to your TG is most important by far. And that's time's up, and I'm cognizant about you running away. So thank you guys. Thank you, Mappic, for putting such a lovely panel together, and thank you guys for sharing. It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for inviting us. Thank you.